Like many small towns and cities, Hallandale Beach is a close-knit community where the neighbors are always looking out for each other, just like they were in November of 2024 when a young boy was snatched from his own garden and the Hallandale Beach community came together to catch a kidnapper at large.
The older lady here, she had a clear visual, saw her get the child out of the yard. And I came sprinting from over there, and I'm like, what are you doing? He doesn't have parents. I'm like, ma'am, that's my neighbor.
Reached over the fence and grabbed my son and put him on her shoulder and just start walking away. She got till this point. The lady, our neighbor across the street came out.
Hello.
And it was the false sprinkler.
Speak English? ¿En español? De todo. ¿Ella vive allá?
No, yo sé dónde vive, la he visto por aquí, pero no sé.
¿No vive aquí?
Yo de aquí para acá me puede preguntar, de ahí para allá yo.
You see her?
What's going on? What's going on? I got the little boy and everybody was like, don't get the little boy. And I'm like, I gave it back to the mom. I gave it back to the mom.
So his mom was there and you still took him?
No. When the mom came out, I gave it back.
But when this case went to court, the suspect would try to use the most unbelievable excuse to escape a prison sentence. Before we begin, we would like to extend our deepest sympathies to the family and loved ones of the victims in this case. A child going missing must be one of the scariest moments of any parent's life, and although the crime is relatively rare, with only 350 children under 21 being abducted annually in the United States, it does still happen. Teaching your children the warning signs to look out for is a way to help prevent such incidents, like the one that happened at Hallandale Beach, Florida in 2024. There is a deep sense of community in Hallandale Beach, and it's generally considered a safe place to live. In fact, it's usually the kind of place where you could leave your children to play outside without having to worry about their well-being. But on Monday, November the 25th, 2024, one mother was about to find out that was not always the case. The victims in this case have asked that their identities not be made public.
Okay, what happened is my son was playing in the yard and I was literally sitting in the window. He was on the couch with his tablet. I just heard screaming. And then she went to knock on the door. And some lady that was walking by, I've never seen her in the area before, reached over the fence and grabbed my son and put him on her shoulder and just start walking away.
The alleged attempted abduction took place on a warm November evening as the victim's mother was in the kitchen. According to his mother, a female suspect had reached right into the garden of their home and grabbed their 3-year-old son before she started to walk eastbound with the boy in her arms. It happened so quickly that the victim's mother didn't even realize what was happening at the time, but a child being abducted from their own backyard in broad daylight wasn't something that would go unnoticed in Hallandale Beach, and the suspected kidnapper was about to find out how close this community really was.
She got till this point. The lady, our neighbor across the street came out.
Who's your neighbor across the street?
The older lady.
Okay.
And then she was walking. She's the one who knocked in my door. So basically, she took my son and walked to this point. She stopped him. He stopped. They stopped her.
Yeah.
And by the time I came outside, she was confused, and then I grabbed my son. She took off. She cussed us out, and she walked off. But never seen her before around here. Never seen her. I just move around here, so I don't really know over here very well.
What was she wearing?
She was wearing a white top with some shorts. She had sandals on her feet. She's blonde.
What color shorts?
I didn't. It's really, really shorts. I don't know. I could get the picture from the phone, but she was wearing shorts, and then she had a backpack on her back with a fire tiger, and what else I can remember. I said she had short blonde hair. She walked towards this way and then turned that way. I was so in shock, I called my husband. He said call the cops.
Okay. Okay.
By the time she was confronted by neighbors, she'd managed to get over 40 feet from the victim's house. If neighbors hadn't intervened, there's no telling what might have happened to the innocent child. When she was caught, the suspect, who was described as a white female, said, "Sorry," put the child down, and then quickly made her escape on foot, continuing east. Another neighbor was quick enough to take out his phone and get the would-be kidnapper on camera, giving officers a good look at their suspect.
You can text it to me, but can I see that first?
Yeah.
They're gonna go look for her as well.
All right.
Do you mind if I take it?
No, of course, bro. Of course. This is all incredible.
So she trying to.
Yeah, it's a Spanish speaker, blonde hair.
What way she went? This way?
Yeah, and then she turned to right like it's to that little.
Yeah.
That's Ivan Rodriguez, friend and neighbor of the victim. He knew something was terribly wrong at the time and knew he had to help.
Witness to the blonde lady, the older lady here. Because she had a clear visual, saw her get the child out of the yard, and I came sprinting from over there, bro. And I'm like, what are you doing? He doesn't have parents. I'm like, ma'am, that's my neighbor. That kid belongs in that yard. Well, she kept on walking, and I didn't get the whole thing on video, just that little part. Yeah. Unbelievable, man. So do your thing. Don't let me interrupt if you need me. I mean.
Yeah. I'll give you a call sometime if anything. Thank you so much for everything.
Another neighbor also stated that she had seen the suspect reach into the victim's garden and lift the boy into her arms. Thanks to the vigilance of these neighbors, the victim was safe and well.
So tell me exactly what happened.
Okay.
On the 51.
I was feeding him. I was sitting right there. He was on his sister's iPad on the couch house outside.
In the backyard?
Yes. So there's a window. He comes in and out. So he got a spoon and then go back to the. Couch. But then I saw him run towards the gate. He always running, so I thought nothing of it until the lady come and knock on my door. And I'm like, wait, what? He was just right there. And then when I walked outside, they told me the lady picked him up.
Who knocked on your door?
She walked away. I
Was it a
forgot her
neighbor?
name. No, not the man. Yes, she's a neighbor.
Okay.
And
what did the neighbor say?
She told me that this lady picked up your kid off the fence, like from the fence, and then put on her shoulder and walked off. And I'm like, wait, do you know? She asked me, do you know her? I said no. And then the lady, she looked at me and she said sorry, and then she walked away.
What lady?
The person who took my son.
She said
I've
sorry.
never seen this lady before.
And she said sorry?
Yes, she said sorry
and
and then walked away. And she walked off. And now I'm like, okay, I was still in shock. And I grabbed my son and I walked in and I called my husband. He said, call the cops. And the neighbor that's on the back of us was able to take a picture of her walking away from the back.
Thankfully, the scary encounter came to a bizarre but peaceful conclusion, but officers would still have to find the suspect and hope that they hadn't tried to do the same thing to someone else's child.
And the lady said sorry and just walked.
She walked towards there. I mean, she tried the lady who came and knocked on my door, she was having, an altercation back and forth with them, but my main concern was getting my son out of her hand, and then once I did, she said sorry, and then she just walked off.
She just said sorry?
She looked at me in the eye and said sorry, and she walked off.
She was Spanish or what?
She looked Spanish because she was talking to the lady, the older neighbor. She was talking in Spanish.
Okay.
So she was Hispanic. And your other neighbor that
the lady, I don't know where she lives, but I do see her walk often around here. Yes. Go inside.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Officers on the scene had a description of the alleged suspect, a white female between 30 and 35 years of age, wearing a white tank top with black and multicolored shorts. They knew which direction she was last seen heading, and they knew that witnesses had plenty of photos that the officers could use to help them identify their suspect. With any luck, one of the witnesses might have recorded the alleged incident in full, so officers could see for themselves what really went down.
Good. You live here or you live in there?
Did you have camera? You have footage of her walking?
Oh yeah, I'm sure I do with my Casa Cam, and I had this video that I got of her there. But you know what sucks? My camera up there did not do the pan. It didn't do the pan. Somehow
It didn't what?
It didn't pan.
Oh,
It
okay.
would have been perfect because you would have seen. Well, actually, it would have been covered by the trees.
But do we know
Wait,
what?
wait. No.
Do we know what direction she came
But you
from?
know what? You got two witnesses. The old lady saw that right here, and I from the garbage can.
Do you know what direction she came
She
from?
came from this way. The blonde lady that was here next to the officer says that she knows where or what trailer or whatever it was that she left from. I had never seen her here before. And
Okay.
you know,
Did your cameras capture the incident itself? No? All right.
Isn't that something?
Hey, always, that's how it goes. Oh, thank you.
Officers were sent to canvass the area in search of the female suspect, and within no time they started to get results. The alleged suspect had been seen by an employee at a local Stop and Save convenience store after she had been in the store with an unknown male. When the store employee was shown a photo of the suspect, he said it was the same person. A quick investigation revealed a potential match on police records. 39-year-old Pamela Monsalve. She lived 5 minutes from the victim's address, so officers headed over there hoping she might be at home.
20 Delta 14.
Yeah. This is guy real quick. This guy before we go.
The fire alarm at 550 AM specifically for
Probably her.
the alarm company proper code, and it was a faulty sprinkler FD.
Speak English?
Hay piquín,
¿En español?
pan y de todo.
Ella vive allá.
1413.
No, yo sé dónde vive, la he visto por aquí. Pero no sé.
No vive aquí.
Yo de aquí para acá me puede preguntar, de ahí para allá yo.
He doesn't know.
Pamela was a perfect match for the suspect. Now she was going to face some tough questions from the Hallandale Beach Police Department.
His nose. You see her?
So what's going on? What's going on?
¿Qué pasó? ¿Por qué vino? ¿Dónde vive? ¿Por qué?
Delta 9, we're 25 over there. You can break down the box and press it properly. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's her.
Papa 1.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so you have a kid. Where is it a boy or a girl?
Papa 1, 10-8 at
A
1414.
boy and a girl.
And how old is your boy?
We have Bravo 5
He's,
responding.
11.
Okay.
20 Bravo
I just
5.
found a little 3-year-old.
551.
All right.
I'm for real.
10 for 1414.
You guys don't.
20 Delta 14. What's the case number? 20 Delta 14. Case number 37214. 37214.
Where you found him?
It was
Oh, I saw that.
I can't even think right now. 2 blocks to the left.
Where you found him?
He was outside. He was naked. He was like with a shirt and his everything was naked. And I asked for the people around to call police, and nobody would call police. And I told the little boy, "Where's your mom?" And then he said no.
So where's the little boy now?
But according to witnesses, Pamela had walked away with the boy in her arms without saying a word to anyone.
Well, they were gonna. I got the little boy, and everybody was like, "Don't get the little boy." And I'm like, I gave it back to the mom.
Southwest 8th Avenue.
I gave it back to the mom.
So his
And-
mom was
and
there and you still took him?
No. When the mom came out, I gave it back. And then everybody was against. And when I said to the little boy, "Where are you coming from? What do you like to play? Whatever," and he goes.
So where was he? He was on the street, the sidewalk, where you
No,
found him?
he was outside in the playground. I go, "Where's mom? Hi, how are you?" And he goes,
Where's the
mom?"
playground?
And outside the outside the house. Outside the house.
Pamela was claiming innocence, saying that the only thing she was doing was trying to help, but the list of evidence against her told a different story altogether, including a still shot of Pamela from a witness and a sworn statement from the victim's mother and several other witnesses, along with video surveillance from both the stop and save and one of the witnesses' own surveillance camera. With almost no way of explaining her actions and plenty of evidence to place Pamela at the scene, the officers decided to arrest her and take her in for more questioning.
We're going to handcuff you, okay? Just for now.
22 Bravo 12 for 65 and signal 66. It's a signal 66 at 4350 West Hallandale Beach Boulevard and Executive Building. Caller says that someone tried to sell him a signal 10 vehicle. The subject is still 1097 in a 2010 Toyota RAV4 with an Illinois tag,
didn't look upset.
20253.
My mom didn't look upset.
Unit that can respond with Bravo 12.
A neighbor saw.
Yeah.
The incident. Do we have that?
I have all the footage video.
Of him?
Everything.
Phenomenal. Perfect.
And then there was another gentleman who stopped me saying that he knew the mom and the kid, and I asked him, are you from military? And he said that he's from the Air Force. He said, are you okay? Do you need anything? And I said some cigarettes, and he's like, no, come, you look hungry. Let's get you something to eat. I said, no, that's okay. He said, where do you live? And I said, about 3 blocks away, and I walked away.
Ivan Rodriguez had not only provided the Hallandale Police Department with the key witness testimony and photo of the suspect, he was also the witness who provided police with the surveillance footage that showed the entire incident, including audio. The camera didn't cover all of the victim's garden, but even though the footage didn't show Pamela lifting the 3-year-old over the fence, it did show her talking to him and was recording every word she said. Then it showed the confrontation with the victim's neighbors and how they managed to prevent her from leaving the area. To make sure there was a solid case against Pamela, officers paid a visit to the victim's home and tried to gather as much information as they could.
Okay, that's fine.
He's jamming out.
Okay, as he should.
Hello, how you doing?
Hi, did you hear about an incident that happened earlier?
Yes.
Is mom here?
She's at work right now, so you want me to call her?
Are the children here?
Yes. I have my son here.
Okay. Your dad?
Yes.
Okay. Can I come in?
Yeah.
That's the victim's father, and he couldn't believe what had happened in his own neighborhood. But Lourdes Baranas, who also witnessed the incident, noticed that the victim was playing in a fenced garden area alone when he would usually be playing with one or more of his siblings. The fact that the victim was left alone was going to be a key piece of information that Pamela would use to try and justify her actions. When the case went to court, prosecutors told the judge that they weren't buying Pamela's story and made it clear just how terrifying this kind of incident must be for the parents involved. When Pamela's defense team would push an entirely different narrative that the victim was alone in the garden, therefore Pamela was being a good citizen and acted in an almost heroic way by taking the boy away from any potential danger. She fully intended to call the police and tell them that she had found a missing child as soon as she got to a phone. It all depended on whether they could convince the judge that that was really the case.
We're asking the court to set, a reasonable bond, and I do think that she has, some kind of defense. There's a 3-year-old allegedly playing in the backyard unattended. We had a case earlier on the docket, where a child is playing in the street unattended and the mother got arrested. So perhaps that's what Ms. Salve is relying on as her defense. Is perhaps the 3-year-old was being unattended and playing alone, and perhaps in Ms. Salve's opinion should not have been. So I think that's going to be what her defense is. I do not believe that this was a case of malicious intent. You don't see anything on the record that involves anything like this. So we'd ask the court to set a reasonable bond.
All right, thank you. So Ms. Monsalve, at this time, I am going to hold you no bond. Any information regarding the facts and circumstances leading up to this event is information that you can present to your division judge on a different day and time. So my ruling is without prejudice for your division judge to make any changes that he or she may deem appropriate, but I will hold you no bond at this time. I am also ordering no firearms, weapons, or ammunition, no victim contact, direct or indirect, no return to the incident location, and no contact with minors.
Pamela Monsalve is facing kidnapping charges and could spend a serious amount of time in jail if she's found guilty. But at the time of this video, Pamela was still being held in the Broward County Jail, awaiting her next court appearance.